This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
And we are back for another edition of the Onside Kick right here on Most Valuable Podcast, your professional football podcast. NFL for right now, XFL when it comes out. We'll probably be talking about XFL and a lockout because, like last week, we talked about there might be an NFL lockout when the XFL debuts.
It's like 3 years from now. We'll be all right.
Spring. But, Mark, it is a fun time of the year because we're doing it a week early than last year to give us some more room when the actual news comes out before the season. But we are now in team preview mode, where we'll be going through all the division. I don't know about you. I love this time of the year where we get to spend each week looking at the different teams from each division throughout our entire beautiful NFL league.
Well, it's a good way to start feeling like we're almost playing football again, right?
Mark's like, we don't have to have those topics where it's like, why are we talking about that? Oh, that's right. It's the off season, and we really have nothing to talk about. Like the Jets hiring Peyton Manning. That was something everyone jumped on because, oh my God, it's the off season.
Well, like I said, relating to what we're talking about today, big news in Packerland. Oh, the head coach tore his Achilles, but it's not going to stop him. He's going to be okay. No, duh, he's the coach. It doesn't matter if he's got a torn Achilles. He can roll around on a wheelie chair.
And as Mark just said, we are going to be diving into the NFC North today. Before we get into everything, make sure to check us out on patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. $1 tier, you get the MVP podcast a month earlier. I think we're getting to the date about 11 days from now. Episode 2 will be posted for everyone, and then episode 3 will be on our Patreon page. You can get that for as low as $1. You also get into our Discord server, like things Jake and I today in the Discord. We're talking a little bit about wrestling and NXT and WWE. We talk about basketball in there, comic book stuff. It's a lot of
basketball talk on there. Honestly, if some of you football fans can get in there so I don't have to listen to all this basketball talk, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful.
There were some football talk first, but then it goes right back to basketball.
But it always gets buried, and then it's like 50 new comments.
Exactly.
I scroll, football, and football's gone.
Exactly. And I know Dave has said, like, well, you can at people. I find it more confusing if it's like, wow, Retro said, or not Retro, it was Soapy, said something like 20 minutes ago, and then people started having a basketball conversation. It was what The Last of Us one. I was like, in this basketball conversation, I would feel weird if it was like, all right, I start adding Soapy, and we just start having our own conversation.
Can we go back a little bit, everybody? Hold on, let me back topic right now.
I know Davis said we can add channels, but we'll get there, and that's how we get there with you guys joining our Discord at the bronze level, and then as high as the gold level tier, where you get to join a podcast and talk about whatever it is you would like to talk about. That is a $10 a month tier. Go check out patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast in the description. But Mark, this year for the previews, I want to change it up a little bit, so how we do it. So we're going to keep the same thing of worst to first. So this year's order, if I am not mistaken, is going to be Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bears.
Correct.
But
it's going to be Lions, Packers, Vikings, big long pause, Chicago Bears.
Big long pause, Chicago Bears. But
way in front.
What I'm going to do here at the start is kind of set everything up. And I've got a few things to kind of set up things. We'll start with the Lions because that's who we're going to look at. Over free agency, they've had a pretty active offseason so far, where they bring in C.J. Anderson on a one-year deal. They bring Danny Amendola in on a one-year deal. Their big signings were Trey Flowers on the defensive line. They bring in Justin Coleman in the secondary, Jesse James, a tight end. Their first-round pick, T.J. Hawkinson, coming in. So now they've got 2 tight ends. This is a team that defensively last year was not horrible. Yards per game, they gave up what? 10th? They were ranked 10th in yards per game. When it came to points per game, they gave up about 22, which was dead even in the entire league. However, it was the offense that struggled last year, where they were near the bottom in yards per game last season, 24th out of the entire league, and they only averaged 20 points per game, which was 25th of the entire league. I want to start on that side of the ball because of those struggles. The defense seems to be pretty good and I know they're adding Coleman, I know they're adding Trey Flowers to this Matt Patricia team, but what can this offense do in 2019 to be better than it was last year?
It's interesting. So I think they did the right things, and that's kind of my summary of the Detroit Lions for this whole preview, for predictions and everything, is they did all the right things on paper. The real question is going to, I think, come down to Matt Patricia, and if he really is a real deal head coach, or if he's like almost every other Bill Belichick, coach,
every other
tree.
disciple of Bill Belichick.
Yeah, exactly. That they don't really work out because they already have Galladay. They go in to get Marvin Jones. They get Danny Amendola to give Matthew Stafford some more weapons. They get an awesome pick. Was it maybe sooner than you would have liked? Sure, but they weren't going to get T.J. Hawkinson in the second round. Guarantee that. So they get him as a tight end position. They got Jesse James as well, who's a good but inconsistent tight end. And their running back scenario, it's fine. It's not amazing. I'd say it's fairly average. So they've got offensively pretty much everything they need. Do I sit there and say, yeah, they could use a guy like Megatron? Well, duh. They could totally use a guy like Megatron. But they don't have that. Galladay was really good last year. Marvin Jones is a decent pickup. Danny Amendola, I think, is an interesting kind of dynamic to have to the offense as well. Stafford's got his options. Could the run game be better? Sure. But he's got his options of what to work with. The question still is going to come down to Matt Patricia on that, because this is all set up. You can be successful. There's no doubt about that. The question is, are you going to be able to call good offenses? Are you going to be able to game plan correctly? Is he going to be able to not just be the guy that has a pretty good defense? He's got to be able to make this offense actually happen.
Well, and that's the thing, where the biggest change this season for the Lions that I think is going to be very important, and I kind of look at the running back situation with this, is they have a brand new OC this year. They bring in Darrell Bevel, who was the offensive coordinator with the Seahawks when they won their Super Bowl. He was 2011 to 2017. This past year kind of took the year off. Now he's back in football, and he's the OC of the Detroit Lions. To me, I wonder how that is going to fit with this team, because you mentioned the running situation, and that to me is the most important part, because with Bevel, who did he have to lean on in that offensive system? Not just having Russell Wilson as your quarterback, but they had beast mode. They had Marshawn Lynch. They had pretty much the guy of all guys to be your running back, unless it was on the goal line in the Super Bowl. We all know how that happens. So, I mean, on paper and the coaching staff, the Lions should be set up for success. I know, but Matt Patricia, the question is still there. Is he going to be a Bill Belichick disciple that actually pans out, or will he be like a Josh McDaniels, where it was like, whoa, situation wasn't good, I'm going to go back and just be an OC because I'm better that way and my job security is better in that situation. But with the running backs, I feel like this has to be a big year for Kerryon Johnson. Last year only played 10 games, got the second most carries because LeGarrette Blount got the most carries because he played all 16 games. But Kerryon Johnson in 10 games had just over 600 yards, almost got to that 650 mark. Averaged a good, if you're in that 5 to 6 yards per carry, you're good. The question is for me, can Kerryon Johnson play a full 16-game season this year? And how are the Lions going to interspell with C.J. Anderson, who helped the Rams a lot last season, especially down the stretch as Todd Gurley got injured, got the yips. We don't really know what was going on with Todd Gurley. It was never really explained. It was just like, what happened to Todd Gurley? But they also have guys on this team like Zach Zenner, like Theo Riddick, who helped this team a year ago in the run game.
The thing that's interesting to me is to talk about Bevel, because it's important. Because that's really going to be kind of the identity here. for this offense, I assume. I would assume this is a little bit of a, you kind of handle that, I'll be over here kind of scenario.
Kind of like how Bill has Josh, where it's like, you and Tom handle that. So it's going to be like, you and Matt handle that, I'll handle the defense.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that scares me is who, and you're getting to it a little bit, who on this running back depth here, who's Marshawn Lynch?
I would feel like, so if we're talking actual player, there is no player in their running back that is beast mode. But Kerryon Johnson has to be that guy of, all right, you're the number one.
Yeah, it would be nice if he was.
Yeah.
But the thing for Bevel is he was incredibly successful on this team with Pete Carroll when they had a lot of really young players because they drafted really, really well. So they were able to stack this team with all-stars. And they had Marshawn Lynch. Honestly, that's really what it really was. I mean, Russell Wilson's an amazing quarterback, but they had Marshawn Lynch. When they didn't have Marshawn Lynch, that offense really was not the same. And Russell Wilson, he's one of those guys that he will put the team on his back, and he did. He did for a while, but we saw the fall off of this team, and part of it, of course, was things with wide receivers as well, and also not having a good offensive line. But we saw a lot of this kind of falling off, and I wonder, with the success that Darrell Bevell had when they won a Super Bowl against Denver, is a lot of that part of because of the defense? Yes, but is a lot of the offense's success because of Marshawn Lynch? Remember that this was the team, it was either them or the 49ers pretty much every year for the team that threw the ball the least in the NFL. They did not want to throw the ball because they had such a great ground and pound. I know this is the black and blue division here of the NFC North, but it's not a ground and pound type of team because of an amazingly talented and amazingly paid quarterback like Matthew Stafford going and trying to get your wide receivers. Your running backs aren't anything that is that amazing to me. That's just my only question with the Darrell Bevell thing of like, yes, I get it that they get him to kind of run the show, but his success was with an all-star.
Well, and the thing that the only thing I'm going to throw out to kind of play devil's advocate to that is if I'm looking at what will Bevell bring to this Lions team, I'm looking at his last 3 years in Seattle, 2015, 2016, and 2017. And the reason why I'm doing that is, number one, 2015, Marshawn Lynch only played 7 games. He started 6, played 7. In 2016, wasn't on the team. 2017, he was in Oakland. So
that's my point, though.
Really, that's the thing of like
the offense has not been the same since Marshawn left.
But I still look at that Seattle team, and that 2015 team was still a 10-6 team with guys like they had Thomas Rawls that year, kind of taking up the mantle of, hey, I'm going to be the leading rusher. Did he have an 1,000-yard rushing season? No. But it was him, followed by Marshawn Lynch in those 7 games. Then they had Russell Wilson. 2016, they added that year Christine Michael had a pretty big year. It was him and Rawls at the top, which Detroit Lions fans are probably hoping that could be Kerryon Johnson and C.J. Anderson. But 259 of those yards were Russell Wilson. And then the last year with Bevell was when they went, what was their record? They were 9-7, so their worst record of the 3, because 2016 they were 10-5-1 that year. The rushing totals were Russell Wilson led your team with 586, and then Eddie Lacy. That you can't have and you won't have with Matthew Stafford.
Exactly, that's my point of when you lose Marshawn Lynch, the team's identity kind of falls apart, and they just happen to be so lucky is to have Russell Wilson, one of the most talented athletic quarterbacks in the NFL. You don't have that with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback, but he's not Russell Wilson. He's not Cam Newton. He is not one of these guys who's going to beat you all the time with his legs.
He's a pocket guy.
Exactly, and he's not the guy who is going to run around, do circles, run on this side, then he's going to go to that side, and now I can sling it.
He can bootleg and throw on the run, but he's not going to
He's not Russell Wilson, though.
Yeah, or he's not like what we kind of complain about Lamar Jackson. He's not that type of a quarterback.
Well, no, but I mean, I just think of, look at Russell Wilson, and like I was joking around about it, but he goes, the line breaks down, he goes to the right, he's all the way at that sideline.
Yeah.
He spins around, now he's going to the left, now he's all the way on that sideline.
Stafford's just not going to do that.
Exactly. And when you already don't have a good running game, it's not that it's a terrible run game, like I said, it's just an average run game. It just makes me wonder, who's that player that's going to prop them up? Because Russell Wilson propped up the Seattle Seahawks for a long time. And let's also remember that in 2016, 2017, this was still a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
They still had the remnants of the Legion of Boom, which is now completely gone. So there was still some things holding them up. I am not saying that Darrell Bevell can't be successful. The guy's a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. He had some amazing times with Seattle. What I'm just curious to see is that truly him, or
was that the pieces that they had?
Exactly. Was it Pete Carroll put together a really impressive team through his ability to, find young talent?
And the thing I'm going to throw out there is, so the 2 years that I'm looking at, 2015 and 2016 for Seattle, that was the 10-6 and the 10-5-1 years. In 2015, with Marshawn Lynch missing most of that season, they went on to the divisional round. They beat the Vikings. That was the one that they should have lost in the wild card game. The one that was that 10-9, kind of like, Blair Walsh, what the hell you doing? Quit playing World of Warcraft and make a damn kick.
I mean, it's what it is with the Vikings.
I'm still upset about that game.
I get it.
It's not like a bounty gate, but I'm just upset because we should have won that game. And then 2016, they made it to the divisional round also, losing to the Falcons after beating Detroit in the wild card game 26-6 that year. The last question I'll ask about the offense is, and this kind of also plays into the wide receiver question, because I believe still that Kenny Galladay, is going to be their number one target, correct? It's going to be him and Marvin Jones, and Danny Amendola, I'm assuming, is going to be their slot guy. With Darrell Bevell, do you think that Matthew Stafford, who I'll say had a down year last year, I had his stats up here really quick, going 4,400 yards in 2017 to only 3,700 yards, and I'm rounding down for those 2 years, in 2018, is Bevell's the type of OC that could get Matthew Stafford back up above that 4,000 passing mark, kind of what we saw similar with Russell Wilson's stats when he really got cooking in the league with Bevell?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, for Bevell, it doesn't matter when it comes to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's only thrown less than 4,000 yards 3 times. Rookie year, when he played 10 games, the next year when he got injured in like week 3 or week 4, whenever that was, and then 2018 when they fired the offensive coordinator because he was terrible. Jim Bob Cooter was not good. And even so, you rounded down, but really, I mean, you probably should have rounded up. He was only like 23 yards away from being 3,800 yards.
So we'll say 4,500, 3,800.
One more game, he would have been a 4,000-yard passer again last year. So I'm not worried about him being that 4,000-yard passer. He's going to get there just fine. The question is, I don't necessarily know that I don't think they really want that necessarily, though. I mean, they would love to have a 4,000-yard passer, but I think they want to have more of that Russell Wilson style of, yes, he's a really good passer, but this run game is really nice. We don't need him to throw the ball that often. We got this really good run game.
Yeah, and that's why, to me, I feel like because of the wide receiver situation that they have,
which is good, but not great.
It's not great. And like you mentioned earlier in the podcast, they don't have a Megatron out there. They traded Golden Tate away for obvious reasons. Like, Galladay is your number one, and I know Detroit fans are going to rally behind their guy. I just feel like the more this rushing attack can do for Detroit to take ease off of Stafford and the receivers. Also, I mean, we didn't mention them. I feel like there's a chance that TJ Hockenson could be the leading receiver for the Lions this year. Like, I feel like because of, like, it'd obviously be between him and Galladay, but I feel like there's a chance he could step in and make an impact at the tight end position as that receiver in this Bevel offense. And kind of like the last thing I'm thinking about, and I know that for teams like this, it feels like we push it to the side and then quickly get it in at the end, but I'll throw it out there. What is your opinion on the defense? Because when I think of this defense, top 10 is good. Being a top 10 defense for yards per game is not a bad thing in this league. And you could see from their schedule last year, they really, the first 2 games, throw them out the window. They were just getting this Patricia defense lined up. You look at the last few games, it's like Green Bay, 0. Minnesota scored 27. Buffalo, 14. Arizona, 3. And then Los Angeles, 30. Oh, funny. The 2 teams that one was a playoff team, went to the Super Bowl. The other one was a game from making the playoffs, were the 2 teams that scored the highest on you. This is a team also that when they kept the other team either around or below that 22 points per game that they averaged, they won that game. Usually when the team scored more than that 22, they lost the game. So for me to you, I'm kind of asking, is this defense just a, hey, do what you do last year and hope the offense will help you out this year? Or does this defense need to perform better than they did last year because of what we're talking about with the offensive side of the ball?
I would hope they do actually perform better than last year.
Do they need to be the Chicago Bears of last year in order to be successful?
Do they need to be the number 1 defense in the league? No, they don't. That's a little much of a comparison, but do they need to perform better? Yeah, because you're talking about their yards, but it's not just the yards of it. It's also the fact that they gave up a little bit too many points than you'd want. This is a team that what I would love to get out of them is I would love them to get more turnovers because that's when the Matt Patricia defense in New England was so great, and that's what really got him his job was the turnovers.
Keep your defense rested and give your offense more opportunities to score with the rock.
Exactly. So that's really what I think they kind of need to become better at is getting more turnovers on this team because they were not in a good situation when it came to turnovers last year.
-5 last year. When it comes to differential, they were tied with Buffalo for 23. When it came to taking the ball away, they had 14 takeaways, which only one team had less than them, and that was San Francisco, who had 7. Other than that, they gave the ball away then, obviously, 19 times, because that's how math works, and that was for as good as tied for 11th when it came to giving it away. Seattle was the least with 11. So the one thing I'll throw out here at the end is you'll notice the one thing, and this is the big change that I wanted to put in for these previews, we didn't mention anything about the schedule. The reason why is, number one, it's useless to pick games this early in the season.
Other than fun.
But number two, what we're going to do, and I forgot to throw this out at you. I hope you're okay with it, Mark. If you're not, tell me right now, and we won't do it. But at the very end, I was thinking, all right, kind of rapid fire. Here's the schedules for this division because they all have similar opponents. Who's got the hardest? Who's got the toughest? And then kind of like a 5-10 minute conversation. I'm kidding myself. More 10-minute conversation between the two of us about schedules so that we're not bogged down with that in the previews.
I don't know. I think it's easier probably to just do it when we're talking about the team.
Then I'll ask you right now, what do you think about the schedule?
I think that all these NFC North teams have difficult schedules this year. And it's unfortunate for them. Like, yes, they're going to have some easy ones. You know, the Lions, they get to go to Arizona week 1. Kyler Murray's not going to be ready yet. But other than that, it's like, all right, they get to play the Raiders. Where's the gimme game? You know, you sit there and you say, okay, Raiders, Buccaneers, Arizona. Literally every single other game on here is going to probably be tough.
Yeah, because the way the NFC North works is you get the division, then the NFC East this year and the AFC West.
Yeah.
So really, if I'm the NFC North, and I am being a Vikings fan and you are being a Bears fan, I'm looking at that going, shit, I got to play the Eagles, I got to play the Chiefs, I got to play the Cowboys. I mean, the Redskins were good last year, but they have a rookie quarterback, so I'll kind of take them away. Oh, and then I got to play my division. And for the Detroit Lions, shit, I got to play the Bears twice, I got to play the Vikings twice, and then the Packers, which they're kind of a wild card. I think the easiest thing for the Lions is that the beginning of their schedule, their very first game, I think they got the best first game that they could have gotten. Mm-hmm. And that's saying, oh, you have to go on the road to Arizona, but here we will give you a rookie quarterback to go against who has never been in the NFL. However, after that, the Chargers are tough, the Eagles are tough, the Chiefs are tough, and then you've got Green Bay and Minnesota after the bye. So I feel like this schedule for the Lions, they may have the toughest of the division just because of how it's spaced out and who they've got to play where. Because if they lose a ton of games off the bat, they'll be playing catch-up mid-season into the late season.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, fortunately, some of their away games are against teams like the Raiders and the Cardinals. That does help out a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy.
So this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section, Lions fans. I feel like most of these are you don't know what you're talking about, our team's going to be great. I mean, hey, we all have that kind of hope in the offseason that our team is going to be the best. So let us know what you guys are thinking about your team here in the offseason, way early here in June.